Most women don't say it out loud, they just wonder. Late at night, maybe while lying awake beside a quiet partner, or in a room that used to feel fuller, the question drifts in, am I too old for this? Too old to touch, to feel, to want? Maybe you've thought it yourself, even if you'd never admit it out loud. You tell yourself it's hormones, it's dryness, it's time passing. You tell yourself your body's simply retired from that kind of feeling. But what if that's not true? What if your body isn't losing something, but changing, learning a new language of pleasure that no one ever taught you to understand? Because lately, women in their 60s and 70s have been telling me something fascinating. They say they don't feel desire in the same places anymore. That what once sparked fire now only hums softly, but a new kind of warmth, a deeper one, has begun to appear somewhere unexpected. And I'll tell you what I've noticed. After more than 30 years of listening to women's bodies speak in whispers and signals, the body doesn't forget how to feel. It simply starts to speak in a new dialect. Welcome back to the Female Health Podcast, where we open the conversations most women were taught to keep quiet. I'm Dr. Lia Parker, gynecologist and intimate health psychologist, and today we're exploring something that could change the way you see your body after menopause forever. Because this isn't just about self-touch, it's about what your body is still capable of, what it's quietly waiting to show you. Stay with me, because in this video I'll uncover the 6 truths that reveal why women over 60 are being encouraged to reconnect with themselves again. We'll look at the silent myths that held you back, the biology that proves your body still remembers, and the secret shift that happens deep inside your nervous system, the one no one ever told you about. And at the very end, I'll share a discovery that may surprise you, the reason some women say they now feel more than they ever did in their 40s, just not in the places they expect. So don't go anywhere, because the whisper that began as "Am I too old for this?" may end with an entirely different answer. For generations, women were told a quiet, poisonous lie. It didn't arrive all at once. It was whispered through glances, reinforced in movies, absorbed through silence. The lie said, your worth is measured by your youth. And once that youth fades, your body becomes something to manage, not something to enjoy. Most women didn't question it. They accepted the small indignities of aging as proof that pleasure had an expiration date. When menopause arrived, society handed them a script. You are finished with that part of life. Even medicine for many years treated postmenopausal intimacy as an optional curiosity rather than an essential part of well-being. And so the silence began. Women stopped asking questions. They stopped touching themselves without guilt. They began to believe that wanting was somehow immature, even shameful, and the strangest part, that silence started to sound like truth. I've seen it again and again in my office. A woman 65, well put together, calm on the surface, and then just as the appointment ends, she leans forward. Her voice softens, and she asks the question she's been carrying for years. Doctor, is it wrong that I still want this? Every time I hear that question, I feel a mix of sadness and awe. Sadness because somewhere along the way she was taught to apologize for being alive in her own skin. Awe because even after decades of being told to quiet her body still speaks. Desire is still there, gentle but persistent, asking to be heard again. This is the lie we must unlearn, that pleasure belongs only to the young, or to romance, or to someone else's approval. The truth, and it is a truth your biology insists on, is that pleasure is not a luxury, it's communication. When your body responds to touch, to warmth, to closeness, it's not being foolish or indecent, it's speaking the language of vitality. But myths don't dissolve easily. Many women carry them like invisible weights. They remember the warnings from their mothers, the looks from their partners, the absence of conversation among friends. Over time, silence becomes habit. You stop reaching for yourself, not because you don't want to, but because it feels somehow off limits. Yet deep down, something inside you knows this can't be the full story. Because your body doesn't stop being capable of sensation at 50 or 60. The nerves don't suddenly shut down, the hormones shift, yes, but underneath that shift is a quieter, more intricate transformation, one that no one really talks about, not even most doctors. And here's the part I want you to hold on to. Many women who believe their bodies have gone quiet are actually standing at the edge of a new kind of sensitivity. a sensitivity that doesn't mimic youth, but redefines pleasure altogether. In just a moment, we'll explore what that means, how your body, even decades after menopause, still remembers what it means to feel alive. Because biology has its own memory, and it's far more loyal than you think. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll begin to uncover that memory, how the body you thought had forgotten might actually be waiting to surprise you. Your body remembers more than you think. Even if it's been years since you last felt that familiar spark, the pathways that once carried it have not disappeared. They've simply gone quiet, waiting for your attention to return. After menopause, so much changes that it's easy to assume the story of pleasure has ended. The mirror reflects new shapes, new lines, a softer rhythm. The body may feel slower to respond, less predictable, and sometimes, yes, less eager. But beneath that surface of change lies a network that still hums with potential. Every woman is born with an intricate web of nerves, blood vessels, and receptors designed for connection and sensation. That web does not vanish with age. What truly changes is how it communicates. As estrogen declines, tissues thin and dryness can increase, but the system that creates pleasure remains alive. It simply begins to whisper instead of shout. When you touch yourself, even gently, the body still reacts with precision. Blood flows toward the pelvic floor, oxygen nourishes the tissues, the nerves, even those that have grown quieter, begin to reawaken like roots drinking after a long drought. The brain releases oxytocin, that warm, calming hormone that softens tension and eases loneliness. Endorphins begin to flow, lifting mood, melting anxiety, reminding you that your body is still capable of joy. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: your body doesn't need permission to respond. It doesn't ask if you're 25 or 72. It simply listens to attention, to warmth, to kindness. When you offer it those things, it begins to trust you again. One woman I once spoke with, 71, widowed, quiet, told me she had assumed her desire was gone for good. "It's like my body stopped belonging to me," she said. But when she began exploring again, slowly, without goals or guilt, she noticed something unexpected. Her body wasn't gone. It was cautious. It needed reassurance. The moment she stopped trying to force pleasure and simply listened, her body responded, not the way it once had, but softer, deeper, fuller. That story stays with me because it shows how resilience lives in the flesh. Your body doesn't forget what it was made to do. It only needs to be reminded that it's still safe to feel. So if you've ever thought you were past that, I want you to consider another possibility. Maybe you're not past it at all. Maybe your body is quietly reorganizing, finding new routes to pleasure, rewriting its own map. And that idea that your nervous system itself may be shifting is where things become truly fascinating. Because what happens after 60 isn't simply a continuation of menopause, it's a transformation that science is only beginning to understand. In the next part, I'll tell you about that transformation, the subtle, secret rewiring happening in your body right now, and how it could be the reason you feel sensations in places you never noticed before. Stay with me. The truth we're about to uncover changes everything you thought you knew about aging and desire. There's a moment, sometime after 60, when many women begin to notice something they can't quite explain. It isn't about hormones or hot flashes anymore. It's quieter, subtler, like a new rhythm pulsing beneath the surface of their skin. Touch feels different, not gone, just moved. I've heard it described in so many ways. One woman told me, "It's like my body's map has changed." Another said, "I still feel pleasure, but not where I used to. It's as if my body is guiding me somewhere new." These aren't isolated stories. They form a pattern that's as mysterious as it is beautiful. Science has started to take a closer look at this. We know that as women age, the nervous system itself becomes more adaptive. The body, always intelligent, begins to redistribute sensitivity, creating new pathways for sensation when the old ones grow quieter. It's not that you lose your ability to feel, it's that your body starts feeling differently. Now, not every study has proven this beyond doubt. Some researchers simply call it neural adaptation, others sensory plasticity. But names don't matter as much as experience, and women's experiences are remarkably consistent. After 60, your nervous system quietly begins to rewire itself. The clitoris can become more sensitive than ever, but in different ways, and often in different places. Some women describe feeling more pleasure along the inner thighs, others in the lower belly, even the hips or just beneath the navel. It's as though your body, after decades of carrying you through life, decides to open new doors, ones you didn't even know existed. Think about it. For much of your life, your body's pleasure was directed toward reproduction, or intimacy defined by someone else's rhythm. But once those reproductive years end, your body no longer follows that old script. It becomes freer, less obedient to biology, more attuned to your own sensations. Some women call it a reawakening, others a redirection. I like to think of it as the body remembering its own wisdom, remembering that touch was never meant to serve anyone but you, and the most fascinating part, the brain too plays along. Neuroimaging shows that when older women experience pleasure, the regions tied to self-awareness and calm light up more vividly than those tied to urgency or performance. In other words, your pleasure becomes not just physical, but mindful, less about release, more about arrival. So if you've ever noticed that what used to feel electric now feels quieter, or that new sensations appear where they never did before, don't dismiss it. Your body isn't confused. It's communicating. It's shifting its energy to the places that need it most, the ones that have carried you, held you, and perhaps waited patiently to be noticed. And in just a moment, I'll take you even deeper into this discovery, into what I call the hidden map of pleasure. Because understanding this map isn't just about reclaiming touch, it's about understanding what kind of woman you've become, and what your body has been trying to tell you all along. There's a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that her body is not betraying her, it's evolving. What once felt familiar may fade, yes, but in that fading, something new begins to emerge. The body you live in after 60 is not a dull echo of your youth, it's a wiser instrument, tuned to subtler notes. And when you learn to listen, those notes can move you in ways you never imagined. So let's talk about this hidden map, the one no one ever taught you to read. Imagine that your body's nerves are like pathways through a garden. Over time, some grow overgrown, while others begin to bloom in new directions. What if instead of trying to force your body to feel what it once did, you allowed it to show you where it wants to be touched now? Many women over 60 describe sensations blooming in unexpected places, not just between the legs, but along the inner thighs, across the lower belly, or even the sides of the hips. Some say the faintest brush of fingertips just below the navel sends a ripple through the body, something almost electric yet tender. Others find warmth spreading across the chest or the small of the back, places that once felt neutral, now suddenly alive. It's as if the nervous system, no longer focused solely on reproduction, decides to share its pleasure more generously. The clitoris, still the central star, connects through a vast network of nerve endings that travel far beyond what most women were ever taught in school. As we age, that network becomes less localized and more fluid. The borders of pleasure blur. Sensation expands, and perhaps that is the secret no one talks about, that after menopause, pleasure doesn't shrink, it spreads. You may not feel the same pulse of urgency you once knew, but what takes its place is something far richer, a slower, fuller awareness that fills the body like light. The body begins to respond to warmth, texture, rhythm, scent, and memory in new ways. It stops chasing intensity and begins to savor intimacy. I once spoke to a woman, 74, who told me she had stopped trying to get it right and simply began exploring what her body enjoyed. She noticed that a soft touch along her thighs or gentle circles over her belly gave her a sense of peace she hadn't known in decades. It wasn't fireworks, she said, it was sunrise. That image stays with me, because that's what this new map really is, not a return to youth, but an awakening to something calmer, deeper, and profoundly alive. So if your body feels different now, don't mourn the sensations you used to know. Be curious about the ones waiting to be discovered. The nervous system you have today is not broken, it's creative. It's building new roots to help you feel safe, connected, and awake again. And here's the part that's most surprising. When women begin to explore these new sensations, something changes far beyond the bedroom. They walk taller, they laugh more easily, they feel anchored, as though they've reclaimed a part of themselves that was never truly lost. Because this isn't just about touching your skin, it's about touching life again. Stay with me a little longer. In our final part, we'll return to where this began, the whisper, the doubt, the silence, and I'll show you how all of it leads to something profoundly beautiful, the homecoming of a woman who finally realizes that her pleasure never left her, it was simply waiting for her to listen. There comes a moment, sometimes quietly, sometimes with tears, when a woman realizes she never truly lost herself. The years, the changes, the silence, they only made her forget how alive she still is. But once she starts listening again, her body answers, gently at first, then unmistakably. This is the homecoming, not a return to youth, but a return to belonging inside your own body. After 60, your relationship with pleasure is no longer about proving that you can. It's about remembering that you deserve to. It's about slowing down enough to hear what your body has been whispering all along. I'm still here. I still feel. I still want to be touched with kindness. When women begin to honor that voice, something extraordinary happens. They start to move differently, not because of confidence in the mirror, but because of peace under the skin. They speak with more softness, laugh with more ease. They begin to glow with a quiet certainty that only comes from being at home in their own flesh. This kind of pleasure isn't about climax or performance. It's not about chasing what once was. It's about rediscovering what is. The simple act of breathing into your body, touching it without judgment, and thanking it for carrying you through decades of life. I often tell my patients, your body is not your past, it's your present. Every nerve, every line, every curve tells a story of survival, adaptation, and grace. And when you reach this stage of life, pleasure becomes something sacred, not an act of indulgence, but of reverence. So if you've ever felt that you were too old, remember this truth: your body hasn't closed its doors, it has simply rearranged the furniture. The pleasure you once knew hasn't vanished. It has moved to a deeper room, quieter, warmer, more intimate, waiting for you to step inside. This is the hidden truth no one told you. After 60, your nervous system doesn't give up. It evolves. The clitoris may awaken in new ways. The thighs may hum. The belly may soften with sensation, because pleasure doesn't die with age. It matures, it widens, it deepens. And perhaps that's the most powerful secret of all. You don't lose pleasure with time, you grow into it. If these words resonate with you, I invite you to share your experience in the comments. Tell me if you felt those quiet shifts, those new sparks in unexpected places, because when women speak about these things, shame fades and freedom grows. And if you're just beginning to explore, take it slowly. Begin with gratitude, not goals. Touch your body the way you would comfort someone you love, with patience, curiosity, and respect. That's where it all begins. Thank you for spending this time with me. This is the Female Health Podcast, where women over 60 reclaim the stories their bodies still want to tell, because your pleasure doesn't fade, it evolves, and your body, your beautiful, changing, awakening body, is still writing its most intimate chapter.